Hello, everybody. Catchy1380 with Catchy Gaming with the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth gameplay journal number 10. Probably not the best place to start a clip with dead. But this is where I want to start off at. So when you start ascending to Mount Nibelheim, or is it Mount Nibel? It's Mount Nibel. Anyways, Cloud has this sort of flashback that he finally remembers Zack, and that Zack was in Nibelheim, which is the name of the village. So this is where the story differs from the other, I shouldn't say the other, the original PlayStation release, in which you pass through the town, yes, with the realization that it's been rebuilt. Here they have you split into two teams. One team with Cloud, Tifa, and Yuffie goes up the mountain to the reactor. And another with Kate, Sith, Barrett, and Aerith go to the mansion. While in the original PlayStation version, you just go up basically the same direction to the reactor. You don't have to go to it, you can, but you go by it, and you leave, and you go, and you meet Sid out in the middle of nowhere. And that's how it goes. This one takes a much different path. It's another one of those Peter Jackson hold my beer moments. One thing in particular, as Cloud ascends the mountain, he starts having more or less flashbacks, especially when he gets towards more Mako. Similar to that of the reactor in Gongaga. He has flashbacks and visions of Sephiroth the closer he gets to concentrations of it. Hinting that he's kind of losing his mind. Just a little bit. Or maybe not quite in control of all his faculties. Anyways, on the ascent to the reactor, Cloud finally tells Yuffie to shut up.
Banging down the door to buy our film rights. Your stunned silence says more than words ever could. I knew you'd be on board.
Please shut up.
And for a few glorious seconds, it's silence. I mean, I like Yuffie as a combat character, but her dialogue is just absolutely annoying to the point where I don't want her in my group for that reason alone. Anyways, they make it to the reactor and they find a group of Wutai soldiers, another major departure from the original release on the PlayStation back in '97. And I think I kind of neglected this because there's like this whole weird Sephiroth-ish character that keeps visiting Rufus Shinra in terms of talking about a potential second war with Wutai. And this sort of just ties into that. And I guess this group was supposed to come and inspect the reactor, and they were shot by Shinra troops. I mean, it was kind of dumb to bring halberds to a gunfight, if you ask me, but whatever. Or a potential gunfight, because who knows what would have happened. I mean, then again, Cloud has that massive sword that he wears everywhere. Anyways, you're just here to go collect a key card from, I guess, an official that was down in Nibelheim. And I'm not sure who he was killed by, but I guess it's irrelevant because all you needed was his key card, and after you get it, it cuts to the second group. So the weird thing is, this is actually a complete departure from not one, but two different games, the original PlayStation version and Crisis Core, where they just completely changed the layout of the manor. And the weird thing is, Crisis Core takes place, I don't know how much time in comparison to this point in time in the game. I'm going to say less than a year. I don't know, I could be wrong. But the whole entire mansion went to hell in that amount of time? I mean, I suppose it could, but it seems like they just didn't want to spend time rendering the upstairs in any shape or form, along with relocating the secret stairs, which was also upstairs in Crisis Core. Anyways, when you go in there, you go down to another secret lab. Sorry, there is another secret lab, but in this case, it's a secret lab that was in there. But it gets expanded upon, so I guess sort of in a way, yes. kind of like the hidden lab underneath Sector 7. I mean, I guess technically it is a remake, and they're greatly expanding upon the story at this point in time. And I don't know how else to put it. It's going to get worse. I'm not saying that the story's bad, but in terms of the departure from the original, if that's what you're after, well, you just buckle up, bucko, because they're going to just keep making those changes. Anyways, I guess an AI-controlled holograph of Hojo shows up, and they get dropped down into a pit. Kind of predictable, and also the second time it's happened in, I guess, the story overall, because in Remake they got dropped down, which that did happen in the original PlayStation version. This is brand new. So anyways, there's a locked door, and to get around it, you go into a vent, which just seems really weird that to go through the vent, Kate Sith rolls through it, even though they have them running on all fours at a different point in time instead of having them roll. So I don't know why they just didn't have them running on all fours versus rolling. But that's what they did. Doesn't make sense to me. And I'll admit, this is actually kind of the first time I used Kate Sith more than just to max out his weapon skills. And honestly, Kate Sith, unfortunately, again, is... And I say again because in the original PlayStation version, he was never my favorite character. This one, he's not my favorite character. Yeah, they try to sort of make him fast-paced and stuff like that. But the way they handled his fat Moogle, which is necessary to pull off a lot of his abilities, it just doesn't feel right. Especially because you go from fast-paced Kate Sith to this slow sort of thing. Yes, you can get off of it, and it sort of acts as a tank. It doesn't seem to really argo all that well. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes it automatically just gets smashed right off the bat. And now you're down ATB when you needed ATB to either heal or cast a spell or something like that. Anyways, with this whole entire box thing, I definitely did it the hard way for the most part. I definitely do not like this mechanic and how they handled it. Mainly because I didn't know it at the time. It's like they have this weird thing of having weird controls for these weird arbitrary small little bits of gameplay here, and I feel bad that some poor Japanese man had to sit there and probably program for 3 or 4 months just to get this to work. Anyways, so the thing is, you're supposed to hold down the R1 and use the left stick to pull it back, or is it square along with no, you hold R1. Use the left stick to aim, and then you hit square to throw. Even though it gives you this arch. And sometimes that arch is not accurate. Don't know why they decided to do that, but that's how they did it. Anyways, that's sort of an example of where I finally figured out I was doing things wrong. Was right here when I needed to throw the boxes into that, I don't know, sort of cup thing. So it could be dropped into, I guess, the reactor to power it. Yeah, it was kind of embarrassing, just a little. So after going through some more vents and going through some more doors, Kate Sith gets separated again, and they introduce Yin and Yang. Now, I think this thing is super obnoxious, and it's kind of an aspect of the combat that I really, really hate. And that's, they stop the whole entire gameplay just to show that this thing shifted from Yin to Yang. And to be honest, it's not really necessary. Helpful? Yes. Necessary? No, because one casts magic and the other one does physical attacks. I think it's pretty obvious when something's going to cast magic because it telegraphs it over its head, and when it does physical attacks, it's going to be coming after you, trying to hit you with melee attacks. Pretty obvious. But for whatever reason, they decided to stop the game instead of letting you cut through, or I shouldn't say cut through, stop the cutscene and just keep playing. Hell, maybe even add some player agency and stop the transformation from one to the other. But they don't do that. After you defeat Yin and Yang, you reunite with Aerith and Barrett. I was about to call him Buffett, but that's not correct. Barrett, you fight the Forgotten Specimen, which I believe is a boss that you do have to fight in the original. I mean, yes, I know you do. I think it actually might be optional. I can't remember. I think it's when you open the safe, which they completely took out of this game. But I know it's in the original game, and they just sort of changed things around so that you still fight it. I mean, that's probably like the only noteworthy part about it, other than, yeah, it changes depending on if you're using physical attacks or magical attacks. And I was playing pretty dumb at this point in time, using nothing but physical attacks because magic in this game is overpowered as hell. Except for maybe with this character because he becomes resistant if you use too much magic. So this is where they introduce Vincent. The first time you go through, I don't remember if he comes out of his coffin or not. I know you can sort of talk to him. Or the door's locked. I don't quite remember. I know you can interact with him early, but you don't get him till almost the end of the game because he was an optional character. They didn't have time to program into the game at that point in time in the 90s. They had enough time just to add the code and make it so that you could grab him, but he wasn't going to be a main part of the party at this point. But here they introduce him early again, kind of like Sid. Although he is oddly loyal to Shinra, which doesn't make sense considering his origins in the original PlayStation version. He wasn't exactly too happy with Shinra, let alone Sephiroth either. So it doesn't make sense to me why he's being security for the manor here at this point in time. Maybe they'll cover a different change in his origin in the third game. I don't know, we'll see. But as you can see here, after Cloud uses the access card to, I can't remember his name. It doesn't matter. Vincent goes all security dog and pulls a gun on the group, pointing out the obvious that he is not the person that the card depicts. Like I said, oddly loyal to Shinra. Mainly because Shinra is responsible for what happened to him to some degree. It's more on Hojo, but then again, they employ Hojo and give him the resources he needs to do what he does to people. So this next part kind of doesn't make any sense to me. It asks who your foe is. You can give the 3 answers. Out of curiosity, I chose Shinra on my hard difficulty just to see what the difference would be. And Kate Sith, I can't remember, he says something, but you end up answering the exact same, changing it to Sephiroth for no apparent reason. I have to wonder what the point is if they just change your answer to Sephiroth regardless of what you choose. I mean, it's a whole entire illusion of choice thing going on here. And the other part is he unlocks the door for them. And there's a line that comes up later that doesn't make any sense to me. So after he unlocks the door with the terminal, you go in there with Cloud, and he starts freaking out, and you sort of hear Hoja's voice talking about S sample tissues, a sample of S hair, and S blood, which I guess they're implying is what Cloud is been infused with, which I know they mentioned that either in the remake or somewhere. I want to say in this game, but I can't recall. So anyways, there's a gunshot, and Tifa, Cloud, and Aerith go out to see what's going on. And then Vincent has this line, which doesn't make any sense, considering he just unlocked the door for them.
I don't recall giving you permission to go in there.
Now, I'm not entirely sure if he's referring to Cloud or the terminal, because he unlocked the terminal for them, so I'm failing to see the problem there. And it's not like he's directly talking to Cloud, so it's very confusing, and it's a sudden 180 with him. And this leads to a boss fight with Vincent. And he doesn't retain his human form. He turns into the monster form, which I believe is his ultimate limit in the original PlayStation release. And you have to fight him in that form. This fight, honestly, it's kind of hard to tell because I played it on both normal and hard. I want to say I had a bit of a hard time on hard due to the nature that he'll just absolutely devastate you in one combo if you don't have the right material and skills on. But I had no idea what I was doing and was completely probably underprepared for this fight. So it was probably harder than I needed it to be on normal. But I definitely had to do a retry or two on hard when I played through it. And honestly, if I'd known what I do now, I could have easily made this fight much, much easier than I did. After you beat him, he gets invited to the group to help stop Sephiroth. After all, he said it's just one more sin he has to atone for. And he just kind of ignores you. Anyways, I'm going to stop here. There's actually still more to go on in terms of Nebel. Mainly because they definitely expanded upon the area. Anyways, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Have a good one.